Welcome to another episode of China Update, where I provide you guys with the most up-to-date political, economic and geostrategic analysis on the world's number 2 economy. My name is Tony. Let's jump in.
Okay, happy Tuesday everybody. Yesterday we discussed the very disappointing economic data published by the National Bureau of Statistics, with almost every metric missing already conservative expectations. One prominent economist called the performance in July alarming. Quote, "The sharp downturn surprise in China's July activity shows the economy lost momentum after only a brief reopening-driven rebound in June. The most surprising development was a slowdown in investment, suggesting a heavier-than-expected drag from the property market turmoil." End quote. And on that, today, let's dive a little deeper into the housing data. Specifically, we remember that most analysts agree that the two biggest factors pulling down growth are the zero-COVID policy and the housing crisis, though some domestic analysts have also included bad weather, more on this shortly, and poor international conditions as relevant factors as well. But even the official data for the housing market looks terrible. According to the National Bureau of Statistics yesterday, just over 92 million square meters of residential property was sold last month in July, down almost 50% from 181 million in June. The value of sales plunged 46% to 970 billion RMB, approximately $143 billion month on month. Property investment in July fell 12.3% year on year, the biggest monthly decline in 2022, a year that certainly had no shortage of big monthly declines, while new construction starts by floor area plunged 45.4%, the largest drop month on month since early 2013. This had flow-on effects, of course, to demand for industrial goods, with cement output falling 7% in July and crude steel down 6.4%, with the hit to both being softened somewhat by increased public infrastructure investment. Also, despite de facto price floors and directions from Beijing to local government to maintain home prices, on paper at least, China saw home prices fall for an 11th straight month. The 70-city index used by the National Bureau of Statistics for new home prices in July dropped 0.1% month-on-month and 1.7% year-on-year. On the price drop, Chinese financial media outlet Caixin observes, quote, "China's housing prices weakened further in July after briefly showing signs in June of stabilizing, underscoring shaky market confidence amid a spiraling real estate crisis." End quote. In July, new home prices dropped in 40 cities versus 38 cities in June, and secondary market prices fell in 51 cities versus 48 in June. As usual, first-tier cities, Beijing, Shanghai, Shenzhen and Guangzhou, also known as Canton in English, continued to enjoy hot markets, all seeing price increases. However, in second-tier cities, new and secondary market prices declined by 0.5% and 2.5%, and in third-tier cities by 3.2% and 3.9% respectively, according to the official data. And of course, it was also in July that the mortgage boycott movement blew up for regulators. The boycotts have now spread to over 100 cities and over 300 projects, with some projects involving thousands of units. We remember that this prompted the Politburo to direct local governments to help developers finish such projects. Now, while we're still on the economy, let's just unpack the People's Bank of China rate cut a bit more than we did yesterday. We remember that the People's Bank of China, China's central bank, said it was lowering the rate on one-year medium-term lending facility, MLF, loans to some financial institutions to 2.75% from 2.85%. Most analysts polled by Bloomberg, Reuters, and Caixin had forecast that the MLF rate would be unchanged. Analysts observe that the rate reduction underscores the severity of growth challenges for China. Next up, China's heat wave continues, and while many parts of the Northern Hemisphere are experiencing a very hot summer this year, for China the heat continues to be unprecedented, with some regions in the south like Chongqing, Sichuan and Wuhan almost reaching 45 degrees Celsius or 113 degrees Fahrenheit. Over a dozen regions are seeing daily sweltering temperatures above 40 degrees Celsius, and Beijing's meteorological office has issued high temperature alerts for 25 consecutive days, with one official expressing that the heat wave is the worst the country has seen since China began recordings over half a century ago. And of course, weathering this heat is having its effects. The Yangtze's middle and lower reaches are shrinking from the heat wave, causing drought and threatening China's autumn harvest, prompting Beijing's agricultural ministry to deploy 25 teams to key regions to try and save crops. Even extra releases from the Three Gorges Reservoir is not making it to the middle and lower Yangtze River. Anhui in the east, Hunan in the south, and southwest China's Guizhou and Chongqing are all reporting rivers drying up in recent days. Indeed, state-run Global Times writes, quote, "In Anhui, one of China's most important grain production provinces, several places have seen multiple main rivers dry up due to persistent heat waves. In Huaining, 8 towns and villages along several main rivers that have dried up are suffering from shortages of agricultural, irrigation and water for daily use." End quote. Okay, let's end with an update of this latest and increasingly concerning outbreak, which has already resulted in over a dozen lockdowns in Hainan Province, Xinjiang and Tibet. In recent days, Gansu and Qinghai have also been affected by sporadic cases, and yesterday 4 cases were discovered in the capital, Beijing. Over the weekend, Beijing's zero-COVID czar, Vice Premier Sun Chunlan, visited Hainan Province. As one analyst observed today, harsher measures and lockdowns tend to follow her visits. During the visit, Premier Sun, quote, urged better resource coordination and firm and decisive measures to achieve 0 cases at the community level as soon as possible. End quote. Large parts of the province, a large island in the South China Sea off the mainland coast, are in varying degrees of lockdown. Millions of trips to the resort cities of the island, especially Sanya, have been cancelled, and according to local authorities, over 100,000 tourists remain stranded. Unfortunately, for the face of local officials, one tourist affected is the former editor-in-chief of the Hong Kong-based South China Morning Post. Quote, "Our dream holiday rapidly turned into a travel nightmare soon after Sanya reported its first case on August 1st. Since then, we have only grown more apprehensive and frustrated, thanks in no small part to the chaos and confusion caused by local officials who seemed caught off guard by the outbreak. The COVID suppression policies have constantly changed from one day to the next and often contradict one another. Each of us has taken more than 12 COVID cases, all of which came back negative. How many more must we take before we are allowed to leave, and for Beijing to allow us to go home? Do the authorities have no faith in these tests' accuracy? What has transpired on Hainan provides further evidence, if it were needed, of the rising economic and social costs of China's extreme COVID suppression measures." End quote. Hey guys, if you enjoyed today's episode of China Update, don't forget to hit the like button. And as always guys, anyone who wants to go the extra mile and help me keep China Update sustainable, keep producing episodes every day for you guys, Patreon and Buy Me a Coffee links are in the description below. That is today's China Update. Thank you so much everybody for watching. Thank you for the ongoing support. Have a great evening or afternoon or morning wherever you are, and I will see you all tomorrow.